Welcome, everyone. Hi, it's Fangirl Friday, and it's the Friday right before a long weekend, which I am very excited about, but not as excited about having my good friend, Stacy Arnold-Strider. Yay!
Hi,
Welcome,
Nita.
welcome.
Well,
Thank you for coming and joining us on our live stream every week.
thank you so much for inviting me.
Stacy and I know each other from way back. We'll go into that a little bit, but
Yeah.
currently Stacy works on Pokemon. If you haven't been able to figure out by our two virtual backgrounds, which are very excited. Yes, my Mystic t-shirt as well. That's right. I like your background better actually, because it's so much fun. Like it's still summer. I feel like it's still summer.
That's my happy place background.
Yeah. Especially in the pandemic, the life that we're living right now, we need some joy at the beach.
Yeah. I will say though, in that background, I'm the Snorlax on the floaty. Yes, over here.
That would be yeah, I might have to fight you for that floaty. Actually, I might be under the beach umbrella because I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm so excited to have you and let's chat. Let's talk about all things Pokemon and all things Stacy. Tell us about your background, right? Like tell us about some fandoms and just kind of how your career like flowed along in that genre.
So I consider myself kind of an accidental tourist of licensing, really.
Aren't we all?
Who knew you could have a career in licensing, right?
Right.
It was never a thing. I didn't know. So I'm dating myself, of course, but I was a child of the 70s. So the first fandom I really remember, of course, are my Charlie's Angels tops trading my
Oh my gosh.
Right? I remember the fair faucet falls off the rooftop, and I was just like, what? This is no. So I also had the Empire Strikes Back. Of course, Star Wars, changed my life at the tender age of 7. I had the Empire Strikes Back tops trading cards that I carried with a rubber band. The stack was this big. I carried it with me everywhere, and I have to confess, although I might regret this, I did sleep with the Han Solo trading card under my pillow for far too
Were you
many
trying
years.
To channel him through the pillow?
It was just like, I don't know what I was getting out of it. It was like I just had to keep Han next to me under my pillow. That's awesome. That's the level that I was at, right? But so awesome. As a kid, though, I never had any. I had a sister, so we were girls, and we never had Star Wars toys, which
common issue.
I was so jealous. I would go to school, and all the kids, boys on the playground, had all the cool toys, and my rich cousins had the cool toys and the giant Millennium Falcon.
The big one. Okay.
The bed sheets, and it's like, it was just, and then not to besmirch another brand, but I would get something girl branded for Christmas. Like, my parents just don't get me.
Girl branded,
they don't get me.
Yeah.
So I grew up without the toys, actually. And my and other things I was into, like for instance Grease, right? The calendars and the posters and things like that. But even at that really young age, I was already really specific about what I expected in a licensed product. I didn't know what licensing was. I didn't know about IPs. I didn't get any of that. But if I got a calendar that I thought was inappropriate for the season, and calendars, right? You just slap an image on the month. And if there was a summerish kind of an image in like the winter months, it's like, no, you guys, come on. This image should be here and this image should be here.
Right.
And so I already had the seeds of being a really annoying licensing executive. So when down the road that paid off, and I'll tell you that later. But so my passion as a kid, this was in the 70s, like I said, so this is way before Pokemon. Movies was what we had. So I was into films. Films was my passion, and I wanted to make movies. And I wanted to be a filmmaker. So when I went to school for film, I wound up studying film theory instead of film production. And I worked very early in the film industry for some very big companies and some very big names, and got some crazy cool exposure. And that eventually led me to circling back to Lucasfilm and ILM. So I did live in LA for several years and worked in the industry down there, but I also was really fortunate enough to work in the industry in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
So I did circle back to Lucasfilm, and when I was there was when the licensing position opened up at Lucas Licensing. And when that position opened up, it was just like all the bells went off. I couldn't, really.
I could finally get that calendar I wanted right.
I had been driving towards production, right? I want to make movies. I want to be in production. So I was at ILM. And then the licensing job opened up and I read the job description. It's like, wait, what? You can do what?
This is something I could do.
So I was very excited to apply for that job and so excited that I got it. And I remember telling my parents when I was trying to describe the job to them, I think the first word out of my mouth was, I get to make toys.
Yeah.
I finally get to make toys. And it's when I was living in LA, working in the film industry, I was actually I'd always wanted to have my own toy company or licensed product company. And I had no idea how to do it. So I was looking at sculpting classes and like, if I had to physically make my own toy, how would I do it?
Right.
And again, this was in the mid 90s. So it's not like you could go to school.
Just to tell you though, that idea, that thought process still pervades. Like I still see people that they want to do something in licensing and they still think they have to know how to sculpt or know how to design or what have you. So, I don't know if we've come that far, to be quite honest, on how to get into the industry.
That makes me feel better. When I got to ILM, they did give sculpting classes in the model shop, and I did take the sculpting class, and I learned very quickly that I have no talent for it. I really think I will never be sculpting my own toys, so I could let that one go. But so when I started finally in licensing, it was, very entry level, and I was on the toy team, and man, like I said, it was just like the heavens opened up, and I could hear the angels singing. It's like, and it just demystified the process. I was like, wow, this makes sense. I get it. It's achievable. It's accessible. It is logical. And it can be done by anybody, really. You just have to know how to do it. So oh man, what a learning curve and what a valuable process. And so exciting.
And that's how we got to know each other.
And that's how we got to know each other.
At Lucasfilm.
That's right. And I was there for 13 years in total. And that segued to Sega of America. And that segued to Pokemon 4 years ago. And I interviewed a Pokemon the day that Pokemon Go launched.
Oh, wow.
July 2016. And man, I walked into that building and people were running around with a look on their face like, what's happening? And it has been every day has just been bigger and better since then.
That's great.
I mean, to walk into a company and a brand new brand for me at the time, and to experience, I would call it a roller coaster in the energy, but a roller coaster goes up and down. There's no downs here. It's just
you're still going the climbing.
We're just cranking, and there's no end in sight. It's an amazing brand.
Well, it's interesting because Pokemon's not new. Pokemon has been around for quite some time. So, for it to still be on the upswing and, everybody has a dip, all brands have dips and such, but it just feels like recently, especially since Pokemon Go, if not a little bit before that it really has just gone, straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible.
It is. It's very special. And that's what's so great about the company is they keep innovation is a key value to the company, core value to the company. And they keep innovating and they want to keep it fresh and they want to keep the fans happy and they want to keep fans excited. And they just keep every time something new happens, it's like, wow, what? You just did what? How can it get any better? Wow, you did it. So it's amazing.
Yeah. And well, in the US, I think it just kind of started, obviously the craze probably started around the TCGs, and the trading card game. For those who are watching without the lingo, TCG stands for trading card game. And that was, from what I remember, that was the biggest introduction of Pokemon into the US, into the North America market. And it just seemed like it was just like, boom, from there, and that's what captured the imagination of a lot of kids, including kids in this household. You know, I have, you know, like we were talking about earlier, I have the 2 kids and they are just fanatical about it, including even to this day, and they aren't young anymore. So, you know, I love the idea that so much we often talk about fandom being generational. And, you know, that is just a clincher right there, where in Pokemon, you can see that now, where, you know, those kids that were first introduced to TCGs, you know, and then maybe into the animation or maybe into the DS games or what have you know, now they're the grown-ups, or they're getting into that level where they're the grown-ups, you know, and kind of introducing that into the next generation. So we always talk about that and what all the things that we do, you know, and how do we keep things going? It's really sometimes it's recruiting new kids, you know, and or recruiting your own family into the next generation.
And that's what makes it such a special brand, is that it is so evergreen. And just like you said, the people who played it as kids are now adults with their own kids, and that's a way for them to bond with their kids and to share something special with their kids and introduce it to them. And it will just continue to grow like that. It's really special that it can be. And the other thing about the brand that I love so much in terms of just values is like I said, apart from just the family bonding and the family values, something parents can do with their kids. It's just the idea of community and being a good neighbor and being a good friend and being a good sport and being able to bridge gaps between different, kids who don't speak the same language can play a game together and find that common ground in a game. People, it's really special that way.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of the general theme and thread through all fandoms, regardless of what it is. It could be sports, it could be, you know, pop culture type things like what we're talking about now, you know, with Pokemon, or it could be films or what have you. You know, whatever your fandom happens to be, it's that commonality with that person and finding that common ground, and you're part of this community. And you know, and it's also a safe zone, you know, where you don't have to explain yourself, and you don't have to, you know, whatever, you know, justify why you like something. You might have to justify why you like that character, but versus other characters, but not necessarily the fact that you like that genre or that particular, you know, fandom or IP. So I think that's, for me, that's the beauty of all of that. And that's why people go to fan conventions, and, you know, they want to go and be a part of all of that in the same space. So that influences, I'm imagining from what you're saying, that influences how you approach your work and you know, some of the projects that you work on and such. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So again, everything that I develop is from the perspective of the fan. If I were a fan and I bought this, if I spent my money on this, would I be satisfied with this item? Would I wish it was a little bit better? And that goes straight back to me being a picky kid and wanting my product to be a little different or a little better. So I do view everything through that lens. And if something's just not quite right, and there is the time for the partner to do another round, I'll ask them if they can do another round. And usually they do. And it always makes the item better. It's like they nailed it. And when a partner nails an item, man, my heart swells. I beam. I'm so excited that yes, this is it. And it works to everybody's advantage, because at the end of the day, that item opens doors. They get placement at retail they didn't have before. They you know, fans tweet about it, and it's like, yes, we know we've done our job. This is what we should do. There's never, for me as a licensor, there's never it's good enough, or, you know, it'll be fine.
The fans will call you out on that.
That is the wrong attitude to have. And I have worked with people who've had that attitude, and it shocks me every time. It's like, how? No. And so
it's like, who are you? Why are you working here?
So again, I think for my licensees, I'm probably one of the tougher licensors they've worked with in terms of a partner. But I call it tough love, and it's really, at the end of the day, to everybody's benefit. And there's There's no other way to do it, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, fans are quite vocal, as far good and bad. They'll tell you if it's great and they, lavish on the love and lavish on the accolades, but then in the end, they vote with their dollars, right? They vote and show you the love by purchasing it. So those who are watching, if you don't know how to show people that you really like something, besides just, social media and all of that, like that's how we judge success, to be quite frank. It's like, okay, do people vote with their wallets? Because that's the most important vote that you can cast when it's come to licensed products. Success and failure, unfortunately, at retail or for us, is judged on the financials, because that's unemotional, that's not anecdotal, that's not subjective. People said yes or no by paying the money for the particular item. So when they vote with their dollars and we've worked really hard on something, like that's such great affirmation. And you feel like, you work on these babies, they're like babies, right? It's just like you incubate them for a while, and you release them out to the world and you're like, I hope they do well.
That's actually the expression that I use too, that I feel like I've given birth. Every new SKU that comes out, if people knew the blood, sweat, and tears and the hours of conversation and that went into making this one little $10 item as awesome as it could possibly be. It's so satisfying to see something.
It really is.
Really birthed and to see fans react to it. And that's actually, again, one of the great benefits for working at Pokemon, because that just aligns with their brand vision. Again, with innovation and quality and being all about the fans and making it the best it can be. So it's nice to work in an environment where that's reflected, and they're not like some brands, you kind of get the impression they're just chasing dollars and they'll slap anything on anything just to get it out the door and make a buck, and it shows. You get that corners like that, and it ultimately is to everyone's detriment, and that is not Pokemon. We will every time take the slow road and do it right and make sure it's right, and if we leave dollars on the table, we have to leave dollars on the table. But at the end of the day, the item that goes out the door has to be the best.
Right. It has to be right. And the fans, I'm sure, appreciate that, because, Pokemon's still around. So, they're voting with their dollars every time. So that, you're still here and it's still successful. So that means that the approach seems to be working,
Yeah, I think it's a long vision, and I think it's a smart one.
It's interesting to see, but there are differences in fan bases and core fans and such like that. Everybody has their traits, right? Like based off of the IP. I mean, I don't know if you can share, I don't want to have you share confidential information, but if you could share what some of the traits are for your core fan, what are so important, or what are some of the characteristics of that Pokemon fan that speak to how you do your work in the licensing and creating product?
So when we start to build out a line plan, and again, I'm very hands-on with my line planning, very strategic. For me, it's looking at every SKU and knowing all the factors that go into that SKU. Who's the retailer? Who's the consumer for that retailer? What time of year is it? What's going on with the brand in that time of year? How does our brand fit with all of those factors? And what's something new we can do here? So something I would design for mass would be very different than something I would design for specialty, because that's a totally different fan, different age, different gender sometimes.
Right.
So those factors are key in line planning. And I do take a very holistic, high level view of a year to plan out my product. And then each, it's interesting when you work in licensing as a licensor, because licensees are always asking, well, who are your top 3 characters, or who are your top 5 characters? Like, well, for who? For Target or for GameStop? For 8-year-old boys or for 30-year-old women? I mean, so there is no cookie cutter answer as far as I'm concerned, to proper branding and proper licensing. You do have to know who your fan is. You do have to know who that product is being made for, and you have to make sure that you're giving them what they want. So obviously something specialty, for an older specialty is usually an older consumer, an adult consumer, or an older teen.
Right.
And they're going to want characters that are a little bit more esoteric and a little bit more edgy and a little bit more personal to them, where obviously mass and is a little bit more for perhaps casual fans or for younger kids or for moms who don't know the brand very well, but they know their kids into the brand.
Like a gift giver or something.
And they need to be able to easily identify, oh, my kid likes this brand and this is something that I could grab for them. So there's so many factors, but really when you ultimately decide who your audience is for this particular SKU, then you have to look at it and say, okay, now if I was an 8-year-old boy, what would I think about this? Would I
is that when the Han Solo, like, trading card thing comes into play? He speaks to you through the
I'll tell my Han Solo trading card stories. Yeah. All my Lucasfilm stories later. Oh my gosh, so many great Lucasfilm Han Solo development stories. But
so which Pikachu, do you have Pikachu like on the trading card under your pillow at night to tell you?
Talk to me. I don't know which Pikachu would whisper to me. I do have, I do like my water types. I'm definitely a water baby. So
okay.
Lapras and Sobble, those are the ones. Again, Snorlax and Munchlax and I have too much in common.
I think we all do.
But, obviously, and then there's just the practical things about the industry and licensing. So young boys want to play with something that their older brother would play with, not something that their younger brother would play with. So even though it's for a 6-year-old boy, you really want it to be maybe for an 8-year-old boy or a 10-year-old boy, for the 6-year-old boy to feel like it's cool and special.
That's what we call aspirational, right?
Aspirational, exactly. And if it's, we're seeing a lot of new things, thank goodness, for girls and for women. And they have a different aesthetic and different things that excite them. So things that are more trendy and more fashion forward, even though it's a mobile accessory or a video game accessory, it's something that looks like, hey, I can rock this item. Right. So, because
an older consumer has gone through all of that phase, right? That the young boy is looking at the aspirational phase, the collecting phase. I want to recreate what I see on screen and play those things. Now, if you're an older consumer, you're about lifestyling it. You want to, when you want to project that out into your everyday life. And so that comes through in your apparel and your purses or your backpacks or, name it, and things that you do in your daily life.
Yeah. And where it's really important, again, as a licensor, is to help guide partners who don't always know the brand as well as you do towards designs that make sense for the brand and for the consumer. So not only do you have to help them select the appropriate character for the market and the SKU, but you also have to help them design what's right for that character.
Right.
So with Pokemon, I mean, at the very basic level, it's like, is this character a water type or an energy type? Depending on the type, the design could go totally different directions. Not only the color palette, but also the shapes. Are they soft round shapes like water, or are they kind of jagged shapes like lightning? Even if it's very subtle, it's important and it's there, and it lends itself to the story and the world of Pokemon and the context of this particular character. And the subtle designing, when you get a designer or licensee who can design to that level of subtlety, where it's not in your face, but the context is there and the story is there, that's again when I get really excited and I feel like the partner has really nailed it. And that's what, as a consumer and as a fan, that I really appreciate when I see something that's just so spot on. And I think, and again, I do think the fans appreciate the depth of understanding the character on that item and the thought process, the thoughtfulness that went into making this appropriate for that character.
I wonder how many folks who are viewing right now probably don't realize, without knowing, subconsciously they're appreciating all the things that you're saying as far as like the detailing. When they look at a backpack or they look at a shirt or they look at something, they're like, oh, I love this because it has XYZ, right? The surface level information that they process. But I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of people from now on when they go back and look at their stuff, or they go out to the stores and they look at their t-shirts or whatever it is that they're purchasing. Now I wonder how much more will they appreciate the little subtle, subtleties that are included, the little leaves or the little bolts of like electricity or something like that, even to the degree that you mentioned, the shapes. I wonder how many more now will appreciate that now that they hear that.
I hope so. To me, it just makes the product so much more special. It does make the life of my licensees a little tougher, I'm sure. They'll submit something that anybody else would say, yeah, it's fine from a brand perspective. It doesn't break any brand rules. And I'm like, yeah, well, with that character, maybe it would be maybe this. And then they go, yeah, all right, okay, and they change it, and then it's like, yes, this is it.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes people win, right? Not so much as a bad argument, but in a discussion between licensor and licensee, they're like, but the retailer wants this or what. So sometimes you let it go, you let a detail go, and then it doesn't sell as well, and then you redesign it with all the intention that you had in the beginning, and then it sells well, and it's validating.
Yes, and I have story after story after story of examples like that, where a retailer asked for X, a partner usually shows them art that hasn't been approved.
And no one watching would do that.
Right? And the retailer goes, oh, awesome, that's got a character on it that I know my kid loves, perfect, let's do it. Yeah. And then it goes to development, you're like, that could be so much better, that's so basic. And then it just kind of flops, and it's like, yeah, well, let's try this next time. And then it takes off, and suddenly the licensee actually listens to you when you start the development. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to say I told you so, but
let's continue to take my advice as the brand owner, and you can develop what you know. So yeah, it is it's a very fine balance between the licensees and the licensors, and it's not to discredit or discount any of them. It's just sometimes, yes, they know their business and they understand the manufacturing and they understand how to sell it in and that type of process, which is a process. But on the other hand, sometimes that overshadows what the knowledge is and the passion and the thoroughness that comes from the licensor. And it's not to be a pain in the butt. It's just to be, really putting out best quality that you can, your best foot forward each time, as you said earlier. And sometimes people don't believe you. Like I've had that same issue, doing things at Lucasfilm or in the past. And it's like, I swear to you, I'm not going to lie to you. Like I swear I'm not going to do you wrong. But people don't believe you. And so just like children, right? These babies, we have to let them do what they're going to do. And then they come back and they're like, okay, now we'll do it your way.
Another big part of the job, indirectly, is just educating the licensee and their sales team and the retailer. It's more than just, again, a brand slap. There are things behind the brand that make it special and that consumers want. And there's things going on with the brand. And again, timing is really important.
Right.
So, and it's buyers really they have so much coming at them, so many IPs coming at them. The next big new thing, it used to be blockbusters, right? The next big movie release is all that they have time for.
It's true.
So it can make getting into retail really difficult. The tide is turning. We're getting, video games is now becoming a more legitimate IP and mass. And that's
it's always been legitimate. Now they see it as such, right? Now they see their power.
Their power, yes. But it's really, I do take the time with my partners when we have monthly calls with them to update them on what's going on with the brand. And I do take the time to take them through our marketing plans as much as I'm allowed to talk about.
Right.
And depending on whether or not they're launching a new line or they're starting to meet with retailers, I will set calls to talk to their sales team. So the sales teams is getting it directly, not derivative through the development team.
Yep.
Because I want them to feel the full power of the message, and the development team is only going to pick up so much of it. I communicate so much of it. So communicating directly to the sales teams are really important, and giving them the knowledge and the tools, if possible. If I can do a deck or a spreadsheet or anything that they can give to a retailer to say, this is what I'm talking about, and this is why this particular product and this particular design is going to be strong this fall and you don't want to miss out on this,
Yeah.
I'll make the extra effort. And again, it always pays off.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember doing similar activities where I would either travel out to the licensees, sales summit, where all their sales folks come in from all over the country, and it's at their headquarters, and do a presentation on the brand, for at that time, brand Star Wars, of course, all the marketing activations, all of the video game, all the everything, because it does make a difference. They understand directly from you, the licensor, where the points of focus should be, what are the highlighted, products, ideas, and tie-ins that should go with that, what are the words that they should be using to sell it in to retailers or to whomever they're talking to. It does make a difference because, unfortunately, everyone has so many things in their mind. They're going to get the highlights, but they might not get the exact positioning that you want them as the brand owner to really talk about. I've even gone down to Walmart and met with a Halloween buyer with my Halloween licensee because it was that important, right? When it's that important, you'll make the effort. And it always, to your point, always comes through in the end. It always makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. And it's really disappointing occasionally when we develop a really great product that just didn't get placement for X, Y, and Z reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we've developed something awesome, I'm so excited about it, and then it doesn't get placement, I will want to know the details. It's just like, well, and then we move on. It's like, why didn't this work out? What went wrong? How can we fix this next time? And how can we get this out in other ways? I'm not willing to give up on my baby. This baby's going to get out one way or another. And what can we do? Because these items are so special, and it's something that once it gets out, the fans are just going to love.
Yeah.
And it's just such a shame to have something that's so great that they just are not going to have access to. So finding a way to get it to them is important, and learning every day is a learning experience. I've been in this business for 16 years, and every day I learn something new talking to my partners. And if they say, well, we want to do X, Y, and Z, and this is our line plan, and I'll say, what's the thought process here? And it's usually because this retailer said they want this. It's like, oh, okay, now I get it. Well, does this retailer know that X, Y, and Z is going to be happening? Right. And maybe something else is stronger? And they go, no. It's like, oh, okay. Otherwise, they just would have said, we want to do this item, and it would be the wrong item for that retailer. So it takes a lot of active listening.
Yeah.
And question asking, and really having as much information as you can have on the front end to develop that line properly, to give the retailers what's going to work for their consumer and get the product to the fans in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many designs and so many things that don't make it out, to your point, so much creativity that doesn't get placed for whatever reason. There's a lot of different reasons. Sometimes the manufacturing process doesn't come through the way you thought it was going to be, or, whatever. There's a whole bunch of different reasons why. But yeah, there's so many more designs that are happening in the background than what actually gets to shelf and what people actually see. So many more hours than what people think, folks. It's a lot of effort to put stuff together.
But those projects do sometimes circle back when it's a really good one. That you just, again, the timing has to be right for it. To your point,
it's true.
There's only so much space at retail. They can only take so many price points, and there's only so many pegs, and they only refresh so many times a year. So that's another part of line planning, is knowing all of that information up front and saying, in any given year, we go in thinking, oh my gosh, I want to do this and this and this and this and this. Well, pick 3, because that's the reality of what's going to go into retail. And then you really have to prioritize, and you really have to understand what's going to work best for the most amount of people.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of compromise in that regard. But then the next year, it's like, okay, what about this item? Can we do this item?
Right.
And things do surface that took a while. I've worked on projects that took sometimes 5 years to get that item out, but it does finally make it. And then it's like, yes, huzzah, I love it. So there's some patience to it.
So speaking of projects that take 5 years, so we don't have to go through all of them, but if you want to pick some projects or highlights of your career, or, what past or present, where would you go? I mean, all right, so focus right now we're focused on toys and games for Pokemon, right? That's your position for licensing and such. So, obviously we should touch on some of those, but as, from your career highlights, what would you like to highlight?
Well, I was like currently with Pokemon, again, everything is just so much fun. It's really hard to pick your favorite baby, but excuse me, but I have really enjoyed working on the video game accessories category. So that category has evolved so much. I've only been at Pokemon for 4 years, but where that category was 4 years ago versus where it is today is night and day.
Yeah.
And again, I call it showing the love. When I work with a new partner, I am all in. I take the time to have long meetings and long conversations and understand all the factors and really think through how can this be better? What can we do that's better? And really challenge my partners to think outside of the box. And what's working in licensing can really be a challenge because, of course, every brand has its brand restrictions. There are just some things you just can't do with certain brands. And licensees don't always understand that because they have creatives designing this great, crazy, fun stuff. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we can do this and this and this? Well, yeah, that would be great, but that doesn't have anything to do with brand integrity. So they hear no a lot. They hear no probably more than they hear yes. And that can be disheartening and deflating. And after a while, they stop trying. And they just really take something in the style guide and just slap it on. And they really stop trying. So when my approach to licensing is to, like I said, spend the time with the partner, to take them through the style guides, show them possibilities, show them comps of other products that have been done with this art. And again, every time they go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know we were allowed to do that. It's like, yeah, you can do it. We say no a lot, but there are things you can do. So have some fun with it. And then the designers get excited because they actually can be creative and they can have fun and they go for it. So video game accessories has been one that's been fun to take to the next level. I will say big stories that I think about when I write my memoirs someday.
They're licensing memoirs.
Licensing memoirs, and I have plenty, and maybe there's a book coming. The ones that really stick for me are being at Lucasfilm and working on Funko bobbleheads. The first Star Wars Funko bobblehead line.
Yep.
When I was there, I was like, why don't we have Star Wars bobbleheads? Everybody needs, what's this no-brainer? And at the time, there was no big bobblehead company, really. No one had really heard of Funko. Funko was doing bobbleheads. So it's like, okay, they're a great licensee. Let's have some fun with it. We launched the Star Wars line. And it did gangbusters, and they did several waves of bobbleheads. And then that evolved into Funko Pop for Star Wars. And now it's maybe 8 or 10 years later. And, they're massive. They're a public company now.
Yeah.
So watching it go from that to that has been just so rewarding and so exciting. And I have to say, talk about the details that go into development. Oh my gosh, that Boba Fett Star Wars bobblehead has about 4,000 different colors on it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Boba Fett is problematic regardless in any product.
Yeah. And actually, when I was at Lucasfilm, I did take Photoshop classes so that I could actually learn how to do my own notating.
The corrections and
trying to communicate in, text, how something should be better. Show them a picture. I mean, a picture, geez. So once I learned how to change a color or put in an arrow with a PMS call out, that made all the difference. So I remember putting hours into that Boba Fett picture, calling out those PMS colors. So that's one that that little Boba Fett is so dear to my heart. When I see it in Funko Pop, I just go, I remember those hours.
With about 100 paint ops.
That's right. And the Pottery Barn Star Wars line. That was when they came in, when we heard that we were meeting with Pottery Barn, I was like, oh my God, Pottery Barn sheets. We need the Star Wars sheets. I was like, because because they hadn't been around for 30 years maybe at that point, maybe 20. And of course,
they were relatively young, but they were kind of like this. I remember when that started up and such. It was like it was out of the realm of reality at that time. Where we would see Star Wars at Pottery Barn.
Yeah. Yeah. And those were the things I never had as a kid, right? I never had the Star Wars sheets as a kid. So, and that I always wanted. So
right.
that was my fangirl licensing moment where it's like finally some payoff.
Yeah.
So I was like, we need. So I remember being so excited going into this meeting and telling the leader of the meeting, we need these retro bed sheets, and listing out, bringing all these pictures, and let's talk about this and this and this. And she's like, slow your roll. They're a new partner. Let's give them a chance.
Don't scare them away, please.
That's right. They came in with their Pottery Barn concepts, which are awesome Pottery Barn concepts. But at the end of the day, we wound up recreating the retro patterns.
Yeah.
They actually took the retro bed sheets and redrew them.
Wow.
And man, so not only was it personally satisfying for me as a fan, but again, as a licensee, to see that go from inception to what Pottery Barn Star Wars collection ultimately became, and that led to Williams Sonoma collection,
right,
and what that ultimately became, again, so
and led to the
rewarding.
Her Universe sheet dress, which
yes,
I own,
and the textiles, the textiles were also. So that was another one where, to date, the assets are being created the way you would normally create a style guide. And me and one of our other coworkers were screaming, comic book art. We have all this great Star Wars retro art from the comic books. Use it. We want to see this on a shirt. We want to see this on a mug. And it was like, no. So I actually, without my boss knowing, bought some comic books.
I'm glad you can't get fired for that now.
right. And I hope this is not in violation of my NDA, but I did buy comic books and I did scan them in at high res and gave them to our art director and said, please, can we add this to our library? And for some stupid reason, they actually listened to me and did. And man, and then that stuff was everywhere. So now
it's commonplace.
And now, and we started doing it on sheets, like you said, textiles and fabric, and people use it everywhere. So even now that I haven't been with the company since 2013, I still see products with that art on it, and I go, thank you very much.
And now other brands do it too. So who knows? It's chicken and egg. Did they influence us, or did we influence them? But now it's commonplace.
Yeah. So that's very, very satisfying.
That's
cool.
Me
as a licensee. Yeah.
So do you think the sheets was your biggest fangirl moment in your whole career, or
as a licensee,
or was there another thing?
Well, in terms of licensed product, probably those sheets, would have to be
those sheets win.
And those bobbleheads. In terms of being just a fangirl, my first trip to I have a lot of fangirl moments because I worked in the film industry for some, so I have lots of stories. But as a licensee, my first trip to Comic-Con was when I was working at Lucasfilm, and we had special passes that got us into the convention before the show started. So it was really empty. And I had walked in, I'd been there maybe 3 seconds, and coming straight at me is Stan Lee with surrounded by 20-year-old girls, all clamoring for autographs. And I don't know if he's a tall man, but in my memory, he's like towering over these girls.
Yeah.
And he's got the shades on, and he's, signing the autographs and just loving. He's just like soaking it up, loving it. And he passed like within a whisper of me, and went in slow motion. I was like, that's Stan Lee. So and
that's cool.
Yeah. Then at the same show, I got to meet Warwick Davis and have a conversation with him and take a picture with him.
He's lovely. I have a picture with him as well from Celebration 5.
Yes. And I told him the one thing I said when I met him was, you should have your own talk show. That man needs a talk show. I would watch it. And I'm still to this day hoping it's going to happen.
Yeah. I love when he does the interviews, like at Celebration on the stage or, whatever. He's just great at it.
Yeah, he really, really is. and I saw Billy D. Williams sitting right next to Billy D. So those, I have to say, licensing fangirl moments, those are probably the top ones.
Did he speak to you? Did you say hello there?
I did not have the courage to speak to him. I didn't. Even though it's a fan convention and they probably expect to be approached.
Did you work for the company? There's like this.
I know. I have so many moments like that in my life, Anita, where it's just, again, when I write my memoirs, it's like I was just too shy to bother. And boy, not to bother, because I definitely stared from a distance.
Yeah.
You know, but I do regret not seizing the opportunity when I had it.
So we have one comment or question from the chat, which we're going to hear right now.
So from Mark Edwards, do you have a favorite moment from Celebration?
Mark Edwards. Hey, Mark, by the way. Do you have a favorite moment from Celebration? And I guess Celebration has happened multiple times, so pick your celebration.
I'm assuming he's meaning Star Wars Celebration.
Probably, yes. Yeah.
Well, every time I've been to Celebration, it's been working. So it is a different experience going to Celebration when you're on the clock versus when you're just there as a fan and can really just geek out and have fun. And I do have to try to pretend to be professional when these things when I'm on the clock. So I will say, being at that one at San Diego and that Star Wars, that was the year. Was that the year Episode 3 came out? Is that why we were there? And Warwick was doing the announcing. So
it really wasn't at Celebration, but it was at San Diego Comic-Con. That was like
sorry. Comic-Con. Yeah. Celebration I've actually only been to one time. That was in Indiana a few years back. And that's the one where I was working and couldn't tell you my own name. I mean, there was so much going on. But I will say though, as a fan, just the fans and the costumes and the creativity and the spirit that goes, even a bad costume's an awesome costume.
Yeah.
Because they made that with love and they wear it with love, and that's their passion and that's their heart. And I've never really enjoyed people who can be critical of crazy bad costumes or crazy costumes, or people who didn't maybe quite wear it the best way. It's like, are you kidding? That person is letting their fan flag fly, and God bless them.
It takes courage.
And it's all about the love and the sharing of the community. And no one, so I love the great ones. I love the bad ones. And I'd go to a convention every day if I could.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, we miss them right now.
Yeah.
I would have to say my favorite is probably the one that he was at as well, Mark. Which was Celebration 5, 7, which was at 2015. Gosh, I'm getting all my numbers all screwed up here. Anyway, for Episode 7, we were in Anaheim, and I was working, of course, same as you. But that one was the culmination of so many months and hours of working. And the big event was we worked with our licensee for our high-end costumes, like our prop replica level costumes. And they built with the 501st 10 to 12 just stormtroopers, the new stormtroopers that were coming out in Ep 7. And there was the big trailer moment, the big panel that we always kick off things with, and the cast was there from the new film and JJ and all that. And the stormtroopers come out, traipsing out. I mean, the uproar, I'm in this room, right, arena with like 4,000, 5,000 other fans. And the noise level was just insane. So I was so proud and so happy at that moment for all that work, and so grateful to be in that position at that moment. Like, I literally was like tearing up. I still tear up at this moment. And then when they put that Chewie I'm Home trailer, that was it. I'm done. I was done. I was just crying along with everybody else. So that's my celebration moment.
That's an awesome story, Anita. And I totally hear you. Yes, it's the fan feeling just that fan love and knowing that you're somehow part of it, even if you're just a teeny tiny part of bringing that to the world. It's just so gratifying. And that moment in that trailer, God bless whoever cut that trailer together. I was sitting at my desk in Sega when I saw that trailer for the first time, and I burst into tears. And everyone in the office just stared at me like, "What's wrong with her?"
Oh, you have no idea.
Like,
yeah. So that's a great way to end our live chat. Look how quickly it went.
I can't believe it.
We already have reached the end, unfortunately, but we're always happy to have you come on back, and we'll have some more chats. So before we go, tell us where to find Pokemon. I think we all know where, but in case we don't, tell us where to find you, find Pokemon, find information. Let us have it.
PokemonCenter.com is our go-to for really quality Pokemon merch, and that's really catered, very specially curated for the core fan. So, and they're constantly putting out exciting new things based on where retro things and current brand statements. So definitely Pokemon.com. Fortunately, we have excellent placement. We're really well supported at most all retailers: Target, Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop. Amazon, of course, is becoming huge. We do have a Pokemon page on Amazon now, which can be a little hard to find, but it's a great resource because it will point you to the new product. It can be hard to know when new product is launched, and that Amazon Pokemon page is really helpful in that regard. And of course, Pokemon.com will take you to what's new with trading cards and video games and animation. And that talk about going down a rabbit hole. You go to Pokemon.com, you could be there all day looking at what's going on. And then, of course, there's our social media platforms, but we will have a new, I don't know if I'm supposed to announce it or not, but there will be a new platform coming that will be an exciting new opportunity and way to find products as well.
Come on and talk about that.
Yeah. you should know about it pretty soon. It should be in the next few weeks, I would think.
Look, everyone keep your ears out for that, because I'm sure it's going to be great news, along with all of the upcoming video games and new TCGs and all the products that you're working on. Stacy, thank you again for joining us. Hopefully we'll have you come back. Thank you for the time, and also, have a great long weekend. Those of you who have joined us for the first time, thank you for your time. Those of you who have come back, thank you again for coming back. Tune in next week. We have another special guest for you, and you'll see that on the announcements coming soon. Thanks again, and be well, everybody. Thanks again. Happy FanGirl Friday.
Thanks, everybody.